Back, you're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. The Dow is in a free fall as we speak here in New York. New York Stock Exchange down nearly 500 points. I'd stay calm. As you may know, I've been recommending in my Monday morning newsletter, the Monday Morning Quarterback, that you should keep a little more cash on hand of late. When these things happen in an overheated market, there are some buying opportunities. Let the dust settle. Have a good weekend. Check out your portfolio on Monday. Stay calm. Bitcoin at 9,300 for those of you interested in it. It's a good addition to your portfolio in a very small piece, but it's really at a critical point now. It could break through 10,000 or it could drop down significantly from here. It's right at the crucible moment. And we are at a crucible moment in America right now. We have Donald Trump as our president, thank goodness. God knows where we would be if we had had Hillary Clinton and the left in control. One of the greatest things Donald Trump did for us, if you ask me, was added 2 Republican conservatives to the Supreme Court of the United States. And that's been the bellwether for Donald Trump, especially when the left is fighting against his immigration policies. They've stood strong and been on the side of the president in most instances. With the impeachment, John Roberts is sitting there. We want to get into the Supreme Court, and who better than Michael Pack, who joins us now. Mike is the producer and director of a new documentary called, I'm sorry, I lost my place right there, Michael. Created Equal. Created Equal is Clarence Thomas, in his own words. And Clarence Thomas is a really, to me, he's someone you really look up to because he broke through a lot of barriers to get on the Supreme Court. He fought some false allegations to get on there. And he's a solemn guy. For you to get his own words out of him is tough.
Well, he hasn't given a lot of interviews to the media because he was burned during that confirmation process, and he doesn't speak in oral argument. But he is, in fact, a great storyteller, has a great voice, he has a booming laugh, and I wanted him to tell his whole story. A lot of people know about the confirmation battle, but people don't know his story of coming from dire poverty in the segregated South all the way to the Supreme Court through twists and turns. So I wanted him to tell his story directly to camera. And as far as getting him to talk, he sat down for over 30 hours of interviews with me over a 6-month period, only him and his wife. And he tells his story in the documentary directly to the viewer, looking right at camera. And it's a privilege to spend 2 hours with Justice Thomas and hear his story. And I hope viewers go.
So let me ask you this. You particularly spent 30 hours with him on camera?
Yes, I spent 30 hours. And he has a very complex story. I tried to do it justice in the 2 hours of the film. You know, he was born in dire poverty. You know, he first in Pinpoint, a Gullah-speaking area outside of Savannah, and then his mother moved him to Savannah, where he lived in a kind of poverty that's really hard to imagine today. He didn't have enough to eat. He was cold in the winter. He had an outdoor toilet where the sewage went into the other person's yard and their sewage went into his. I mean, really hard to imagine. And then after several years of that, she brought him to her father, his grandfather, to raise because she couldn't take care of him and his brother. And there, his life turned around. His grandfather gave him tough love, discipline, sent him to parochial schools, and the nuns also gave him a good education, good values, and things are going well until the 60s hit, and then he turned on all that and became a radical, another thing people don't know.
Who would think of Clarence Thomas as a radical?
Well, that's right. There's a lot of surprising things in the film. He was, in fact, studying to be a priest, another thing people don't know about him, in the seminary, and he had gone to segregated earlier parochial schools, but the seminaries had been all white and were just desegregating. So when Clarence Thomas went there, he experienced some racism on the part of the seminarians. And in 1968, they were watching TV the day Martin Luther King Jr. was shot, and a white seminarian said to him, "I hope that SOB dies."
Wow.
A shocking thing.
That's
Michael,
terrible.
congratulations on the film. I can't wait to see it. It starts playing in theaters today. I'm looking forward to seeing it. The clips that I've seen, it looks phenomenal. I'm very interested in Clarence Thomas. Definitely one of the really unique members of the court, in part because he went 10 years straight without saying a word. Now, did you get into that at all in the film? Why does he say so little when the other justices seem to say so much?
Well, we did talk to him about that, and he feels that it isn't the business of justices to speak in oral argument. In oral argument, each advocate gets 30 minutes to make his case, and he feels by justices interrupting, they're stealing time from the advocates. And he points out the court had been quiet when he first came to the court, and historically had been so. Most of the work in the Supreme Court is done behind the scenes, where he is very active. He relies on writing and the discussion of their written opinions. In fact, he has written over 600 opinions, 30% more than other Supreme Court justices, including Ruth Bader Ginsburg and everybody else. So it's not, he may be quiet, but he's not inactive.
How long ago was this film put together and shot and stuff?
We've been working on it for over 3 years. Documentaries take a long time. We began it before the Me Too movement and the Kavanaugh hearings that I think have given it greater immediacy.
When was the last time you spoke to him? I'm just trying to get some time context.
It was, last time I spoke to him on camera,
yes,
was well over a year ago.
Well over a year ago. Well, at that time, I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg, her health was still in question then. Did he weigh in at all on his thoughts on her, long-term health?
Supreme Court justices don't usually like to comment on political issues or the other justices, except to say nice things about them. He did say about his own health that he plans to stay on the court. He said to us that it's a job for life, and that's how he intends to treat it.
Michael, he might not have wanted to comment about politics, and I know most justices don't, but you can't ignore the fact that when we go back and look at his confirmation hearings, that really the lead person persecuting him through that time was Joe Biden, the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee at the time. Did he weigh in at all on Joe Biden's conduct during that confirmation hearing?
Yes, that is exactly the kind of thing he talked about in the film. He tells how he experienced life, how it appeared to him. So he tells the whole story of the confirmation process from beginning to end, what it was like to live through it. And he talks about what it was like to be questioned by Biden. In the first part of the hearings, before the Anita Hill allegations were leaked, Joe Biden particularly pursued questions about natural law. And I think Justice Thomas felt that natural law, that Joe Biden's intricate philosophical questions were a way to get Justice Thomas to speak about abortion. And abortion was really the focus of the first part of the hearing.
Well, a lot of people say that because Clarence Thomas was conservative, he was treated a bit differently than an African American who might have been liberal, saying the same things and doing the same things that were done to him. Let's give a look to sort of the different treatment that Clarence Thomas believes he endured. Here's a clip from the new film that Michael Pack has produced.
Well, it's stereotypes draped in sanctimony and self-congratulation. There's different sets of rules for different people. If you criticize a black person who's more liberal, you're a racist. Whereas if you can do whatever to me or to now Ben Carson, and that's fine because you're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. It's a tactic, and when people see it being successful, they don't realize they're going to be the next ones in the Tower of London.
So, Michael, I am curious not only about his view of his confirmation hearings and being conservative, but his views on race in general. And it's such an opportune time for this film to come out right as Black History Month is beginning. I know Justice Thomas had previously written that he actually experienced more discrimination at Yale in 1973 than he did growing up in the segregated South. And I think that might make some people scratch their heads. How could someone experience more discrimination at an Ivy League school than in a place where the schools were 98% segregated?
Well, I think he felt especially that after graduating from Yale, his degree was discounted because it was assumed he was there on the basis of affirmative action by other standards.
Oh, God.
So he had actually trouble getting a job graduating from Yale Law School. He does say in the film that it is the white liberals that have been the difficulty for him, not the Ku Klux Klan and the racist sheriff, even though they are horrible too. And don't forget, he grew up in the segregated South. I think in that case, he particularly had in mind his treatment by the liberals on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And in the clip that you showed, people can talk about Justice Thomas using racist tropes that they could not apply to a liberal African American.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that struck me right there when we were taking a look at the clip from Created Equal, Clarence Thomas in his own words, one of the magazine covers had a picture of him and it said lawn jockey for the far right. Now, I can't imagine if any person on the right referred to an African American person on the left as a lawn jockey. Does that weigh on him still till today? Does he have a little hate in him about that stuff?
I don't think he has hate. I mean, he relies on his faith to not have that happen. But I think he's still scarred by that horrible experience. And it's not as if these attacks have ceased. It goes up right up to today. I mean, the impeachment cover you saw was very recent. And we have many of these examples. They're willing to depict Clarence Thomas in a Ku Klux Klan robe. I mean, using things that as you just said, you could not say about anyone else.
Since you mentioned his upbringing, I just want to play one more clip from Created Equal in which Justice Thomas talks a little bit about growing up in what was not exactly a bed of roses. Take a look.
I was supposed to go to school in the afternoon. My mother wasn't there to make me go because she had to go to work. So I wandered the streets by myself. I was 6. You were hungry and didn't know when you'd eat, and cold and didn't know when you'd be warm again.
Hey, so you know, really gripping stuff. I'm going to be watching it. It comes out in theaters this weekend. For people to get some more information, maybe see some other stuff, where can they go to find out more about this film?
They need to go to our website, justicethomasmovie.com. We list all the theaters where it's playing, and it's playing in over 20 around the country, including 2 here in New York City, but in Los Angeles, D.C., Chicago, Dallas. And you can see the trailer there. And if it's not playing where you are, you can sign up, and if there's a big enough group, we can make an event happen where you are. So the first step is to go to the website, justicethomasmovie.com.
One item of breaking news just before we go to break. We have now learned that Lisa Murkowski, senator from Alaska, will not vote for witnesses in the Trump impeachment trial. So this would apparently close the door now that she and Lamar Alexander are both opposed to calling for additional witnesses and documents. It looks like this impeachment trial will wrap up tonight. No need for Chief Justice Roberts to break any sort of a tie. There will be no witnesses, and it likely will not continue past this evening.
Tremendous, tremendous news. I ring the bell again because we didn't want Justice Roberts to have to get involved. It's not his place. And now it leaves 2. Susan Collins, she's in Maine. She's in a tough district. But Mitt Romney, he's out on an island right now. Him and his fake Twitter name, Pierre Delecto, are in some serious trouble. And I doubt he'll even vote. It'll probably be unanimous at this point because I don't think he wants to leave himself stuck out there. But Michael Pack, thank you so much. Go out this weekend if you can and check out in his own, Clarence Thomas, Created Equal, Clarence Thomas in his own words. And it's in theaters around the country, even here in New York. You stay right there. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Jack Rosenthal, an entrepreneur.